While The Simpsons has often portrayed both Homer and his father Abe, aka Grandpa Simpson, as flawed figures, Season 35, Episode 7 proved that the pair share one enduring quality that redeems them. Let me know in the comments section if you prefer Homer or Grandpa. But before we set off for a nice race at the swimming pool and suddenly realise that Homer isn't there... Oh dear. You should have done what Ralph did.
I don't feel right.
I'd like to say hello, guys and gals. I'm Nick, and welcome to 30's Feedback. So, Homer Simpson is famously not an unambiguously heroic character. When The Simpsons first aired, the show received significant condemnation for its cynical deconstruction of Reagan-era family values. President George H.W. Bush even said that American families should aspire to be more like the Waltons and less like The Simpsons, prompting Bart to pithily retort that the Simpsons family were waiting for an end to the Great Depression, just like the Waltons. However, even though Homer embodies many of the worst characteristics of sitcom fathers, he is still presented as something of an anti-hero and an everyman. Outside of controversial character details like Homer strangling his son Bart, the show's lead character isn't typically viewed as a villainous protagonist. A big part of what redeems Homer is his endless loyalty, with the Simpson patriarch sticking up for his friends and family through thick and thin despite their mistakes. Judging by the events of The Simpsons Season 35 Episode 7, It's a Blunderful Life, this quality seems to have been passed down from his family-flawed, irascible father, Abe Grandpa Simpson. Remember, Abe was in the Flying Hellfish, so of course he's loyal.
Oh, Simpson, can't you go 5 seconds without humiliating yourself?
How long was that?
The plot of The Simpsons episode It's a Blunderful Life proves that Homer's family is actually more supportive than Marge's relatives in times of need. When Homer is accused of triggering a nuclear power plant meltdown that results in a town-wide blackout, Grandpa is the only character who doesn't blame Homer, thus abandoning them. Homer's friends from Moe's Tavern, his colleagues, prominent citizens, and the rest of Springfield's populace all gang up against the family without any proof of Homer's guilt. And even Marge's closest relatives are part of the pile-on. Despite this, The Simpsons episode's future set scenes depict Marge reunited with Patty and Selma years later. Instead of taking her daughter's side, Marge's mother Jacqueline fires an arrow at Homer as part of the angry mob. In contrast, Grandpa collects firewood for the family and keeps their spirits up by playing upbeat traditional music on a fiddle. It is not a major surprise to see Marge inviting her older sisters to Thanksgiving 60 years later, since Patty and Selma have never hidden their hatred of Homer and the family had decades to process the event. However, the contrast between Grandpa's unconditional support of his son and Marge's mother siding with the angry mob is telling. This underlines a vital distinction between their parenting styles. We'll just gloss over Abe's proclivity for seeing scantily clad dancers, I think. Grandpa is still self-interested, rude, a coward, and quick to anger, so he is hardly an ideal role model. However, Homer also shares all of these same character flaws, and his father still stands up for him when he is unfairly attacked. Part of what makes It's a Blunderful Life one of the best Simpsons holiday episodes in years is its focus on family bonds and their importance, and Marge's mother shows just how impressive Grandpa's support of the Simpson family is. Interestingly enough, the Simpsons movie offered a very different take on the character 16 years earlier, with Grampa joining the mob that drove the Simpsons out of Springfield. I mean, he's always had anger issues. Just ask Chester Lampwick.
Paint my chicken coop!
Make me.
In fairness to Grandpa, Homer was actually guilty of that infraction that ruined the town in that instance. However, It's a Blunderful Life still proves that The Simpsons has handled his character differently in recent years, and this more supportive incarnation of Grandpa is a welcome change. The character flaws of Homer and Grandpa can be pretty egregious, but as The Simpsons Season 35 explores darker stories with increasing frequency, it helps that Homer and Grandpa have a major redeeming feature. Throughout the story of It's a Blunderful Life, Marge refuses to believe that Homer is innocent, while Homer does all he can to right the situation. Like his father, Homer is seriously flawed, but doggedly loyal. Meanwhile, Marge is much less obviously flawed, but can still prove surprisingly fickle, much like her mother is earlier in the episode. In this regard, both Homer and Marge make more sense as characters when their respective upbringings are taken into account. This could even explain why Marge is willing to forgive her sisters for hating Homer decades later, since the Simpsons heroine isn't as prominently loyal as her husband and his father. Homer does have his moments, but you can't fault some of his quotes.
Mo, this is a great thing for you. You went from sitting on the sidelines to getting in the game. Sometime when you least expect it, you realize that someone loved you. And that means someone can love you again.